The Consulting Leaders Podcast, where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Guillaume Jouvencel, ex-PwC and co-founder of GHA Marketing. Join me as I interview the best consultants in their niche. Let's get on with the show. Dominic, I'm gonna tweak a bit the usual introduction of those shows. And instead of asking you what landed you into your current job, I'm going to ask you about your background because I think it's worthwhile. What's your background?
Well, my background makes no sense when you how's that for a start? Yeah. I'll start with maybe a shocking revelation for you, Jim. I went to university and I have a degree in archaeology.
Interesting.
So that would lend no credence to anything else I'm about to say next.
Good context.
Yeah. But I was interested in I've always been interested in business. It's always been very curious to me. I remember when I was just a young kid finding out or finally realizing that one of my uncles had a company. And I thought, well, that's cool. What's a company? And I ended up working for him in construction as a framer for, summers as a student.
And then what?
Well, then, just the normal university stuff. But actually, backing up into business, one of my first companies was something called the Yo Ho Ho Light Co. I installed Christmas lights on houses, and that's where I got into the trades. I liked it. I just invented it myself and thought I would do it. This is way back in 1985, 86. And from there, I became a student painter, which I'm sure lots of your listeners, lots of people, more than you would imagine, went through the student painting path. And then, I went the corporate, after university, I went the corporate route. And that was okay for me, but I'm not really a corporate guy. I was in telecom. And I'm sure you've had lots of clients in telecommunications. Telecom is like dog years. So I was there for 49 years in telecom. It's 7 human years. Yeah.
Okay. I was like, how old are you, Dominic? Because you don't look like 49 even.
I don't look that. But that's actually where I got into business coaching itself, because I was at Sprint, and Sprint is where I learned started learning about business coaching. Mm-hmm. And that's been the last 26 years, real years of my life.
Okay. Thanks it's an important distinction. What are you doing now?
Well, right now, I have a company called Contractor Wealth System. That's my coaching company. And underneath that, I have 2 different brands, both specializing in construction trades. One of them is called Cabinet Maker Profit System, because I really like long domain names that are easy to misspell.
To find.
Yeah. And truthfully, although that's in contracting, it's more on the manufacturing side, right? So that's cabinet makers and architectural millworkers. A wonderful audience of people who really need help growing their businesses, and it's overlooked by a lot of people. The other audience is called Profit Tool Belt, and that's home renovators, builders, remodelers, HVAC, roofing, electrical, all the other trades. And so we serve both of those trades as business coaches, but I do it by leading with a value add of the podcast and the YouTube channel.
What do you mean with that?
Well, we're very education focused. My job, and I've thought this, I don't even know where it came into my head, but I believe that it's my job to change the world. And I do that by throwing so much value at the world as hard as I can that I'm happy with the overspray.
Okay, this is something that we're going to have to pause for a second and talk a bit.
Sure.
So I'm a huge fan of Alex Hormozi. I don't know if that rings a bell.
I just finished his program this year. Yeah.
Which program?
I did the acquisition program in Vegas.
So the workshop?
Yeah.
And then you did the VAM as well?
Sorry, the VAM is the one I did. The VAM workshop, value added. What's the M stand for? VAM.
I have no idea. We bought it, but I have no idea.
Oh, I probably would have. I could have met you if we were in opposing classes, but I would have met you there.
Nice. I wonder if we were on the same onboarding call. Okay, we're gonna have to talk this off air. But I'm a huge Hormozi fan, and I love the give until they ask. So what made you do that? And I know we're jumping straight into marketing here. We're going to get back to who you serve, etc. But why that focus?
No, you bring up a really good point. So one of the things that I haven't mentioned is that in my past, I was the global master franchisor for a business coaching brand, and I was partners with Brian Tracy. many of your listeners will know who he is and many won't, because he was a very big name in the 80s and the 90s.
Okay.
But there, one of the things that we did is we took senior executives who wanted to leave their position and become a consultant or a coach on their own, and we showed them how to have their own business as a business coach. But the thing that they all came to learn very quickly is that they didn't have a business card with a title on it. And when you're in corporate, your business card and your title automatically gives you a level of built-in respect that others should know. This is the VP, this is the chief engineer, this blah, blah, blah. Folks, I'm going to tell you right now, nobody cares when you are on your own as a consultant. Nobody cares. And I'm the first one to tell you, I care less than them. What are you going to do for me is the radio station WIIFM that everybody's tuned into. And so if I don't add with value first, if I don't give value, if they're not curious, if they're not inspired, if they're not a little bit educated by me, it's not going to work. Sorry, can you hear with the tone of my voice how committed
passionate you are about this?
Well, I've just had my nose broken so many times. If I don't add with value, there's no value.
So tell me more about this. The reason I'm asking this is I talk to easily 4 to 5 B2B coach and consultants a day, plus mastermind sessions and so on. And everybody's afraid to put content out there because they're like, okay, there is AI. Anybody can, claim anything on internet nowadays. But like, if you start giving the secret sauce, why would they buy from you? What's your take on this?
I learned this from Pat Flynn, who's an online marketer as well. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Pat Flynn. Great.
I haven't.
Yeah, great podcast guy. I think he's a side hustle type guy, but really smart. And he's the, many others have said it, but I really resonated when he said it. He goes, it's okay if you give away all your content. It's not in the right order for George as it is for Jennifer. Jennifer needs that in a different order of operations than George does, which is totally fair because Jennifer's concerns, her needs, her desires are different than George's. I don't worry about putting out free content. I don't even worry if somebody steals my ideas because I know how to create ideas. I know what models work and I will create more and I will implement more than anybody else. Take them all. I don't care. Put them in another language. Go for it. But you're never going to be me. You'll always be one step behind.
How do you monetize that? Dope.
Well, you monetize that by monetizing that. You have to ask for the deal. You've got to find a way to add value and bring people into the system, qualify them just like anybody would in any sort of professional, value-added consultative sales process, and then deliver on your promises to retain clients.
Amen. So we're going to get into that funnel because I think that's going to be super interesting for the audience. Before that, tell us a bit more about who is it that you're helping exactly? You mentioned the trades, the construction space. Like, is there a specific business size, a specific industry, a specific location even? Who do you decide who you help?
So the ideal client for us, we have avatars for both of those clients. There's cabinet maker Mike and there's profit tool belt Pete. So very easy names. And actually, I learned that from one of my clients who's a company called 1-800-GOT-JUNK. When you walk in, I'm not sure if you've heard of 1-800-GOT-JUNK. They're a global brand under O2E brands. But when you walk into their huddle space, at least when I was there last time, they had pictures of their ideal avatar so that everybody understood who they were serving. And in my company, we really obsess over who we're serving. Does Mike care and does Pete care? So that Mike and Pete are multi-million-dollar contractors who are running their own business, but are looking around at the same time going, I don't know what I'm doing. I got here. I didn't even graduate high school, or maybe I went through trade school, but I've never run a $4 million company. I'm making it all up as I go along. And that is such a humble and honest place. And I have to tell you, we probably have the greatest client base and audience in the world because they're just nice people who are open and curious.
I would argue that that's my client base, but I'll trust you.
No, that's great. I mean, good. There's lots of those people out there. But what I will tell you is that when I focus on Mike and Pete, I don't want to use a bad word on the show. But,
go for it. It's a Piggy 18 show. You can go.
Yeah, it's okay. We don't cuss on our show, but so I'll just say the a-holes don't respond. We don't get them.
Yeah, that's fair enough. How did you? So it's interesting because that was the main topic of one of the masterminds that I host. for B2B coaches and consultants, where some of them, they are making good money, right? We're talking about high 6 figures, low 7 figures, and they still don't have their ICP nailed down. How did you come up with Cabinet Maker Mike and Tool something Pete? I didn't.
Profit Tool Belt Pete.
Profit Tool Belt Pete.
Yeah, well, I have been banging on that metal for a long time to get there. It's when I decided to go after the market for cabinet makers, that was a mathematical equation that also started with looking at my own past. Because when I first started in business coaching, which was the year 2000, my first 2 clients were in woodworking. One of them made pool tables, billiard tables, and the other one actually made coffins, but still woodworking. Those were 2 of my first, and I went away from that for a number of years because I was coaching all sorts of different businesses. But after I sold that master franchise company, I wanted to go back into coaching for myself, largely because I didn't want to travel as much as I used to. And I thought podcasting and YouTube would allow me to do that. I don't have to travel unless I choose to. And so I went back and I looked at where could I reinvent myself with my past experience with the right kind of clients who I enjoyed working with. And that's how I got there. And then just over time, recognizing the same thing we do with our clients. Go look at your past successful jobs, break those down into the categories, and then find a way to repeat that. Because when I go to the market with intention, I know this sounds like it's right out of the textbook, but there's a reason it's in the textbook. When I go to the market with intention, that intention comes back, and that's where I find those clients.
Yeah. And since we are both fans of the Hormozy School, I'm going to drop that in. Don't hesitate to look at your top, depending on how many clients you serve, but top 100 clients, top 20%, of your clients. If you have had 100, that's 20.
Right.
Look at what they have in common, survey them, make the survey as detailed as possible, right? We're talking about demographics, age, ambition, qualitative and quantitative questions. Where were they before they started? Where are they now? Like, all this will allow you to understand exactly who you're helping, and you will have common traits between the top 20% of your clients. There will be some. And then you refine as you go, and you bang on that metal. I'm going to borrow that expression, until you refine it perfectly. But then you reach a point where depending on where they are in their journey, their pain points better than they can express them. And this is when you help.
Absolutely.
Let's go back to your funnel now that we're clear on who you're helping. So how do you build a podcast and YouTube content strategy that converts into clients eventually? Can you break us down? Can you break down the funnel for us?
Let me first start by giving you a self-assessment of my skill level at building a podcast and YouTube channel to get clients.
Please.
I think we're about a 3 out of 10.
Solid.
And I don't think I have all the answers, but I have some great insights. So let me start there. I'm not the expert. I'm interested in learning more about that as we go. That being said, the people that come through our podcast or our YouTube channels convert faster and convert better. So I have a higher conversion rate with a shorter sales cycle with people that come through that channel. So please, everybody, take that message for sure. If you came back to me and said, Dominic, I want you to remove podcast and YouTube, I would simply hang up the phone. It's not going to happen. So those are going to stay. Now I have to get better at doing those. And a lot of that for me has to do with finding, back to what you said, GM, I have to find the guests that answer the questions that Mike has today or Pete has today. And there's lots of people in my space, just like there is lots of people in every space, but they don't approach it the same way I do. I think about succession planning. I think about legacy. I think about profitability. And so I put a very fine filter on who my guests will be because they're going to be in front of people who are craving quality info. And so we try really hard to have good guests that give unique insight.
Oh, I like that a lot. So let's say this. That's how you put together the content, right? And that's definitely doesn't sound like a 3 out of 10 for me, but fine, I'll play along. How do you go from that to, I have the answers under my eyes, but I want to ask you the question. How do you go from talking about the right stuff based on where Mike and Pete are in their journey I think you mentioned that Jennifer as well,
Mm-hmm.
to, hey, here is a bit more free value. Here is a bit more value if you're willing to give me your contact details. Here is like a
Right.
link to book a call with me because it seems that you're at a point where I might be able to help. Here is an SOW. Here is a letter of engagement. Let's rock and roll. How do you make that happen?
So we have a very prescribed process for that. And again, it just as we started the call, we give away free stuff. And so we have lots, the CTA, as it's called in marketing, call to action. Our
Yep.
call to action is very simple and it should be very specific. So if somebody's listening or watching our show, we will offer a tool that is important to the business owner. And when they get the tool, however they choose to get it, they email us or they text us or they call us, whatever it is, we give them that tool. And back to your point, we give it away for free. There's no expectation. But then we contact them, we open up the conversation in a very human way, and we start with a very short call to qualify them.
Okay, we're gonna spend time on this because I just love it, and so we recently came up with a case study with one of our clients who is not in your space, but like does something similar, and he has just the best kick-ass lead magnet. That's one of the best I've ever seen, and he says exactly the same thing. When people watch my YouTube stuff, when people listen to my podcast, they come with their credit card ready, and they were like, "I was just looking forward to work with you." So like, if you're listening right now and hesitating to do long form content, this is your sign to go. And it is a lot of work, but it's worthwhile. Now, what he does, which is different from one of the things that you do, Dominic, is that he captures email addresses at some point. I'm on your website right now, and I can get, so the tailoring and the messaging and the positioning is spot on, but then I can get the workbook for free without giving you my email address. Why are you doing that?
I don't know. We have a lot of work. That's why I said I'm not lying. We are a 3 out of 10 on lead gen. And
Okay.
I have 5 business coaches working with me that are busy.
Okay.
And we're no good at this. Like, what I mean is, I'm not being facetious. We can be so much better. But you know what? The website at this point is not our major source of lead generation. The major source is the podcast. And when I say podcast, yeah, it's podcast/YouTube. It's the episodes, right?
Get it.
And so typically people will text us. They just, because they're driving or they're on a job site or they're between job sites, and they'll text us and say, "Hey, I want that thing." And so we just respond really human. "Hi, nice to meet you. Can I get your name and email?" And they're like, "Yeah, my name's John and my email is john@johnscabinets.com. I'm like, "Okay, here's the thing." And then you just fall into the process. And we follow through the process from that. So we do a very simple qualifying call. So our sales process, which I think is where you're getting to, is there's a 15-minute meeting, a 30-minute meeting, and then a 60. The 60 is the closing meeting.
Okay, that's super interesting. So, man, I love marketing and sales motion. So you're getting me started now.
So do I.
We're not gonna stop. So I love that you're so confident in the value of the free stuff that you're giving away, not just the content, but also the what's supposed to be a lead magnet. But in order for it to be a magnet, for it to be a lead magnet, it needs to generate leads. Whereas if you just give it for free without asking for an email address, you don't get a lead.
Yeah.
Unless you're so confident that your stuff is good that when they are going to use it, they're going to be like, I want and I need more. And if they aren't going to use it, you cannot contact them anyways, but they would have probably not be a good clients anyways. So there is a level of strategy here. So again, you're saying you're 3 out of 10, but I don't think that's true.
I have to add something, Guillaume. Can I?
Go for it. Go, of course.
Most people never open the attachment.
Of course.
They
so
don't. They
what
ask
do you do
for
then?
it. They want, I'm going to show you how to work the tool.
Yeah.
Most people, and we've gone to test this, and we've done it even anecdote. So we've tested it by looking at the open rates of the attachment. We've tested it anecdotally through, because I have now an appointment setter and closer who's on my team as well. Amazing. And he will tell me they haven't even opened the attachment. I don't think they're qualified. And I'm like, no, they're perfect. They know they need it, but they don't have the time to implement it. And guess who's going to walk them through it? Us and our system and the accountability of coach, everything that any of your audience here does.
Amen to that. Yeah. So tell me more about the 15, 30, 60 minutes. Why that structure and how did you come up with it?
Well, I mean, that structure follows a consultative selling process. There's a little bit of Hormozy in there. There's a lot of Russell Brunson. There's a lot of the experts that you and I would follow and recognize in there. And so it's processes and systems that work that we have modified to our way of doing things. But I also don't want to overextend my time for people that are not ready. Right. So the 15-minute, we're qualifying for the very basic things: budget, need, timing, trust. And then we're trying to find the technical reasons that they would want to be talking to us. So those are a very simple format, right? Budget, need, timing, trust, and something technical that we can help with. Once they pass that stage, we tell them that their due diligence has begun, and we tell them to start researching us and come up with their questions. They are then invited to the 30-minute meeting, which is a further qualification meeting. In the qualification meeting, they are assigned some homework. It's a very simple piece of homework, but it's a self-assessment. GM, the self-assessment is where they tell us all their pains and needs and wants. So I don't do the work, they do that work. The 60-minute meeting largely opens using the Sandler sales training I've forgotten the word now, the upfront sales contract.
Okay.
Right? GM, I don't know enough about you and me today about where we're going and what's going to happen. But at the end of today, are you comfortable saying no? If we find a solution that works, all that, everybody out there is repeating it like, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I'll keep it seasonal, right? We all know it.
Your script. That's good.
Yeah, we all know it. And then we get into the conversation. My goal is not to sell them. My goal is to help them. And I'm going to add that, and this is how we train all of our people. We're not here to sell. We're here to help people, because if they don't choose us, I feel bad for them because they're going to choose wrong.
I'm laughing because this is such a powerful framework. And I'm laughing because selling is what most B2B coaches and consultants hate. They are experts at their craft. They usually, right, most cases, they know they can help. They have the expertise. If the client has a specific need or issue, pain point, whatever, they can help with that. But going through the sales motion is something that they hate. And I think framing it like this, now you need to be confident about the quality of your services, though. That's a prerequisite. But when you are, this is such a good way to get into calls. I like the 15, 30, 60 minutes. When you say you feed them with a VSL that you've done yourself, or do you let them just hang around on your YouTube channel and podcast?
Yeah, again, this is where I think we could be better. But one of the things that we'll do is we customize the due diligence. So because we have approximately 500 episodes between the two shows, depending on what they asked, we'll say, I think you should watch this video. Now, quite often, the video is done by one of the coaches who I already know I'm going to align them with. And the coaches on my team are absolute rock stars. All of my coaches currently run their own multi-million-dollar construction businesses. They use either scaling up or traction in their own businesses, and they're successful to the point that they're interested in doing some work off the side of their desk as a business coach because they love it. I have got an incredible team. And so if you're familiar with the term salting, we're salting that lead, saying, do your due diligence, listen to this episode with Ryan Hindmarsh, listen to this episode with Jake Power. You're going to hear your question answered by Jake or Ryan or Adam. And they listen to that. And when I later say, I think the right coach for you on our team is Adam, they'll say, I know that guy. Because they kind of do.
So you're giving me too much that I want to follow up on, Dominic, but we only have 35 minutes.
I'm adding so much value that you want to follow up with me.
See? like you walk the talk. You demonstrate what you're talking about by doing
3 out of
everything
10, buddy.
at the same time.
3 out of 10. But
please,
I will say, if we don't approach
rude.
this, if myself and my team don't think we need to improve, then we're going to get stagnant. So we're always finding ways, right?
So the mindset is good, but let me tell you this, Dominic, you're doing easily, and I'm trying to put a number that will make sense, but that still sounds outrageous, but I believe it. You're like 12 steps ahead of what most B2B coaches do, because you fall more into the coaching category, which is like you have a process that is so nailed down that your coaches have more work than they can handle, which proves that it's not even a demand constraint, meaning even if you would improve the marketing side of things, this wouldn't unlock the business anyways. Anyways, that's another discussion. I'm genuinely interested into how, because that's, so now I'm going to say something here. That's a problem that I face. Capacity in the sense of,
right.
Hussam, so I'm the one who brands, gets clients. Hussam is the one who delivers and makes the magic happen. I often say I'm the pretty face talking about all this. He's the one implementing. The thing is, right now we are running into an issue, which is how do you coach new podcasters who have a B2B business behind it, like high 6 figures, 7 figures. When you start having like 20, 30, 40 of those catch-ups a week, you need someone. My question to you is, how do you make an offer compelling to those multi-million dollars construction businesses owners to become coach in your business? It cannot just be about money, because they will make more money just running their business. So how do you attract those, retain those, and make it make sense for them?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to thank something that I ran across when I was a college student and then continued with, but I'm a member of EO, Entrepreneurs Organization.
Okay.
Are you familiar with EO?
Not at all.
Okay. So the Entrepreneurs Organization is a global organization of entrepreneurs. It was started by Vern Harnish, who happens to be the author of Traction, which is a strategic planning book. So I know a lot of these guys through Entrepreneurs Organization. On top of that, I compensate them very well for their time. They get paid lawyers' dollars, and they get compensated for retention. So we're not trying to churn through clients. So this, you might find this interesting, but our coaching agreements are month to month with our clients. Our retention rate is typically over 36 months.
This is insane.
Well, yeah, but listen, I've broken my nose a bunch of times, but
you have to.
You have to. And so it's not instant that we got there, but we deliver massive value. And if we're not delivering value, they get to fire us. Or if they're not doing the work, sometimes we got to clean them up a little bit too and move them on. But typically our clients stay with us 36 months, and it's a month-to-month agreement. So our guys get compensated the longer they keep. So they get lawyers' fees for coaching, and they get senior partner fees for keeping, if that makes sense. They get more and more the longer they keep the client.
It does make a lot of sense. Can I ask, as of when you consider a client retained?
Yeah, so the first trigger is at 12 months.
Makes sense.
Believe the next one, I'd have to go look at my exact notes because it's a sliding scale. But very roughly, just say every 12 months, very roughly.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. But you remember, these guys they're busy. These are very busy guys.
100%.
And so if they get to fulfill themselves by coaching, which my guys all love, and they get to make that kind of money coming in on the side, great. We all win.
No, that makes sense. And that's the model we are exploring right now. We are trying to nail it down properly, but I think this does make a lot of sense. So I think that's a good explanation of how you attract and retain talents that can replace you or help you scale. What are the mechanisms that you use to retain clients, though? You just said that 36 months, which is insane. Like, how do you keep on providing value as a coach or as a coaching organization so that people want to stay with you for 3 years minimum?
Right. We work within repeatable. We bring repeatability and predictability to our clients. And so there's cycles of business that we introduce. So what's your strategic plan is how we'll kick off. And then every quarter we revisit that plan. So there's the expectation that every 3 months, you might call it a sprint, right? But we keep that sprint active and alive. And we've got different ways of doing that quarterly revisit so it doesn't get stale and boring. There's just as much education as there is entertainment. There's just as much peer-to-peer. Like, we don't act like we're better than the client. We're peers with the client. That's something we work really hard on. And so keeping it interesting, keeping the accountability, tracking the numbers, being that person that they can trust and not being transactional is very important to us. I will tell you that during COVID, I talked to all of our customers and clients and asked them if they needed to not pay. And I think I had 2 not pay during COVID, but we retained them at the end. Every once in a while, we've got 2 customers right now. They're both in the cabinetry trade. that move from 10,000 square foot facilities to 30,000 square foot facilities. And both of them are continuing to pay even though they're cash strapped in between. But we made the offer, do you need a break for a couple months? Because we're not here for the short term. We all do better when we're together for the long term.
Words to live by. There is nothing to add, Dominic. Actually, let me throw you a curveball because you've been flying through this interview. So I need to make it a bit more difficult for you.
Sure.
What's your, and don't say that you're a 3 out of 10 in marketing. For this question.
Yeah.
What's your challenge right now? Let's use Hormozy's terms. What's your point of constraint that when you unlock, you're going to, unlock the next level of growth?
Yeah, we are oversubscribed on too few marketing channels.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we rely too heavily on podcast and meta ads.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've already begun opening up other advertising channels. Do I have another second to talk about a model?
Yeah, please.
So I'd like everybody to think about their local swimming pool and the diving board at the swimming pool.
Yeah.
The reason a diving board is fun is because when you get close to the end, it's very bouncy. You jump up and down, you bounce, you go into the water.
Yeah.
But when we're marketing, that up and down is not fun. And so the way right now, if I relied only on ads through Meta, I have one pillar holding up the diving board. Mm-hmm. Fun for diving, but not fun for lead gen and quality lead gen. Too much variation at the end.
Oh, yes.
If I 1 foot forward add another pillar, direct mail, referrals, other strategies, whatever everybody's got their own strategies that they like. I add stability to that diving board. Yeah. And so that's what we're on for 2026 is I want to add stability and predictability to other lead gen strategies.
This was an absolute masterclass, Dominic. Thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders. If people want to find out more about you, listen to your podcast, watch your YouTube videos, get in touch, where should they go?
You know what? They can just text me. Can I give you my cell phone number?
Sure.
315-903-7853. And just say, Consulting Leaders. And then I'll know where we met.
Boom. Love this. We'll put it in the show notes. As for me, I'm also adding you on LinkedIn so you get at least one new follower from this.
Thank you. I'll do the same.
Dominic, thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Leaders Podcast. We hope you learned valuable lessons on how to grow your practice and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.